Thank you all for accepting. And Susan, it's a pleasure to see you once again.
It'll be fun.
Our evening tonight is called Terms of Endearment.
Now we'll hope this slide works here. If we share screen, nope, that's not working, but maybe I can just pull it up on my own. We'll see. I'm afraid I'm going to block you. There we go. Let's go slideshow from the beginning. Okay, but now we can't see each other.
I see everybody. Doesn't everybody see everybody?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, it's just me. That's fine.
But we don't see the slideshow, Susan.
You don't?
No.
Uh-oh. Let me go back. Start it over.
Share screen at the bottom.
I'm not seeing the share screen button on the bottom tonight.
It's green.
This
Wait.
green one?
It says share screen and it's green.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it on my screen,
What kind of a
unfortunately.
device are you on?
I'm on a PC.
Well, wiggle your mouse. Does mute, stop video at the bottom, participants, chat, share screen at the bottom.
At the bottom, maybe I'm not going down far enough. I just did this the other day and it works, so it should. Let me try it from the other directions where but then I think I'm gonna cover you guys up.
Don't worry about that. Find your screen and then we'll worry about.
Okay, let me
covering up.
try and do it this other way. Show from the beginning. Can you see that now?
No.
Wow.
Mona, she is co-host?
Yeah,
She's co-host. Well, let's think. She's got to be able to find the share screen button.
Right.
Was
Right
it
now, I'm just,
shared co-host? Does that make a difference?
I don't think so.
You know, it looks like it says Mona and Marcy under Mona, so maybe it thinks Marcy's the,
That's her husband.
That her husband's name's Marcy. It's confusing.
oh, Susan's husband's Marcy? Okay, sorry.
no, mine's,
Mona's husband's Marcy.
okay, I'm gonna change you to host.
Right.
Yeah, maybe that.
Maybe
Try
that'll
that.
work.
oh,
Try,
thank you.
do
Okay.
you see share screen?
No, it's funny because it's usually right down here on the bottom.
If you go up to window, way up on top and you see
Yes.
meeting and view, okay, hit window and then see if always show meeting controls is check marked.
Where is that, Diane?
It's way up on top where at the very top where it says Zoom and then to the right, it says meeting. and then-
Here's share screen.
Oh,
Okay.
But
Oh,
there's a window control, and on that you can hit always show meeting controls.
we got
Ah,
it.
Well,
Thank you, Diane.
good girl.
So we're sharing the screen. So hopefully if I bring them up, they'll be part of us. I
Yeah.
haven't done it this way before, so I'll follow your way gladly. Hey, who
bingo.
was that? That helped. Thank you. Kent Nurburn happens to be one of my favorite writers. He also was an Oregonian when I lived in Oregon. And he writes a lot of books about Native Americans. And this is one of his quotes, which I can't get to slide over a little. I'm sorry. But it really says a lot, I think, about who we are, is that who we are is how we display ourselves in what we do. One joy in life is, first of all, discovering who we are, and then figuring out, is the person that we become the person we really wanted to be? Do our family and our friends think that we are that person? Many people find it helpful if from time to time they write down their values that they want to be remembered for, and they review them. In the United States, Benjamin Franklin actually was one of our founding fathers, and he was a bit of a writer. Then he became a bit of a printer and a publisher. He made a lot of money in that, and he said, hey, I love books, I love reading, I love being a publisher, but I'm gonna sell all that, and I'm gonna do what my heart wants to do. And he became an inventor. He did a lot of scientific experiments. He invented the lightning rod, and this was by chance. He was flying a kite in a storm, and he got shocked. And he decided, wow, if I put that lightning rod on a building, could I save the building from getting hit by lightning and the people within it? And so that's how the lightning rod came about. He also is most famously noted for taking what was called then a double spectacle and making bifocals. As he aged, he found that he had two pairs of glasses, one for seeing far, one for seeing near. He sliced them in half, put them together, and that was the making of bifocals, a real personal thing for him. He didn't patent that, interestingly. He was very much like Jonas Salk, who said that the polio vaccine is really the people's vaccine. I don't want to make money off of it. Ben Franklin was the same kind of guy. He felt like he got a lot from the community that he lived in, and that part of being a community member was giving back. He invented the flexible urinary catheter, as you see part of, at least on the screen. And this was due to his brother having a kidney stone and having one of these very stiff metal catheters put up his urethra into his bladder. And being the good brother that he was, he invented one that had more flexibility and curvature to it, so it wouldn't be so painful. A guy who invented because he felt he should be doing things for other people. In the United States, even though he lived in the 1700s, we see him still on the $100 bill. What does this have to do with values? To me, Ben Franklin is one of the people who really talked a lot about how he wanted to live his life. And what he did is he picked 13 values that he wanted to be remembered for. And he felt that if he worked on developing activities that were reflective of these values, he would live the life that he wanted to live. There were 13 colonies at the time, and some people thought, well, maybe he picked 13 because there were 13 colonies, but no, he was really a cool thinker. He said, if I take 13 values and I multiply that times 4, that equals 52. So it means that every week I can study one value and try and make sure that I put it into practice. And then every 13 weeks, it'll flip back. So I study each value 4 times every year. I wish I could get this smaller for you. I'll read the slide. It says, the dead really never leave us. We're all destined to become a memory in the hearts of those who love us. I certainly feel, and I don't know if you can share your memories of this, I still feel my mother talking in my ear and saying, you will go out there and help somebody. When my brother and I grew up, and he was older than me, it was a given in our household that we automatically, when it snowed, went next door and shoveled the neighbors. It wasn't something that we were paid to do. It was something that we didn't even have to be told to do after a while. But our parents incorporated into us the value that we were to help other people. And that was what normal daily life should be about. As clinical nurse specialist, when I was for a large university hospital, my specialty was death and spiritual care. And in that role, I sat down many, many times, just breathing with the dying and holding their hands and listening to their stories. And they told me a lot about who they were, often telling me if they felt they lived their life the way they wanted to. Many hoped to be someone their family members would remember for the values that they thought were important. When the patients died, I would be often then with their loved ones left behind. And some family members, oh man, they would start telling you these remembrances, these stories of how the person who died, they were so generous. They were so kind. They were so honest. They were so thoughtful. It was like this person was still alive. And within them, I do think they were. And I can't say this happened all the time. Sometimes when a patient died, silence just shrouded the room, even though the family was there. There were no stories about the person. Some people hadn't connected and known the person that well, even though they were the relatives. And it happened many times that the people left behind did not talk about the values and the wonderfulness and the traits that they wanted to emulate of the person who died. Instead, the family was quibbling over who would be listed first, second, or third in the obituary. And that was sad. I began to think, well, maybe we should think more about how we want to be remembered when we die. So I enlisted the people I worked with, and we formed these little groups, and we met and we talked about what we wanted to be remembered for. We wrote down in each group what they were, and we got more people involved, more and more, until we had 110 values that each were different, that people had thrown out in these group meetings about what they want to be remembered for. Then we went and typed them all up and put little boxes next to them. And we had over 600 people read through the 110 common values. And we had them check off 6 to 10 that reflected what they wanted to be remembered for. It became clear to us that most people really did know what they wanted to be remembered for. When we looked at our list, we said to people, do you, when they checked off out of the 110, we had a question that said, do you want your family members and loved ones to know the results of you doing this questionnaire? What values you picked? And 76% of women and 69% of men said, yes. I would love it if my family member could get a sheet of paper that said, this is what I tried to be. At the same time, I was remembering that there were all those families who didn't know, which reinforced for me that you really got to talk and think about values in order to play them out in your life. We looked at the 110 values. These were the ones that came up most. Our group had people in it from age 18 to in their late 80s, different cultures, different socioeconomic groups, and people wanted to be remembered for different things. I would have never picked that the top one, the one most often picked, was being a good friend. But when I look at even in my neighborhood, being a good friend, when none of us have family here, is just very, very highly regarded and appreciated. 51% of women and 43% men chose that as their top value. Being a good parent, a little more women chose that as men, but pretty close. Care of family, again, more women chose that than men, but it was close. It surprised me that more men chose valuing creativity than women, and maybe because I'm a crazy sewer. So I'm always making, one of the things I do as volunteers, I make 100% cotton bags for people to keep whatever they want in. So I enjoy creativity. When we got to empathy, 36% of women chose that and 17% of men. Faithfulness, it was pretty evenly split. It was only 1 point apart, with 29% of men choosing that and 30% of women. Fairness, men cared more about this than women. Women cared more about generosity than men. Hard work was chosen more by men than women. Helping others was chosen more by women than men. Women chose honesty more than men did. Men chose intelligence more than women did. When you got to kindness, 38% of the women chose kindness compared to 21% of the men.
Mhm.
Love of God and love of fellow man, 30% of the women and 26% of the men put that as their number one value. Being a team player, men valued this more than women, and very, very few people chose being a tough negotiator, which was interesting. Team player was chosen way more often than being the tough negotiator. Patriotism was chosen just by 3% of women and 12% of men. Now, this study was done in the beginning 2000s. I can't even imagine what patriotism, because it's defined in so many different ways and words here in America right now, what that would turn out to be. Too many definitions to deal with. Very interesting to me is that less than 1% of the people chose making lots of money as a value they wanted to be remembered for.
Okay.
So if you can take a look, I can always give Mona, I can dig out the questionnaire. It was interesting to get answers back. Warren Spahn, who was one of my favorite baseball players, answered, and I was thrilled because I grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Yeah. Got a letter from Henry Kissinger that was really a long letter that explained in detail why he didn't have time to fill out the questionnaire. I think I gave it to my son who teaches politics because I just thought it was funny. What counts in life then is not the mere fact that we've lived, but have we really made a difference? Have we really done something with every day? And it doesn't have to be that we've been a big physics professor. Little things in life count a lot. Smiling through the pain. All of us polio survivors have done this. When I was a child, my mother, for special trips, would take me to a shopping mall to shop. And I would always be holding her hand. And of course, they were outdoor then, none of these indoor ones. And I would have a brace on my right leg, and I kind of swung it outward too. And we would walk by shoppers who were seated on benches waiting for the next bus to come. And they had their, at that time, shopping bags. Remember when we all had paper shopping bags at their feet. But they would look up and stare at us as we were walking by. And my mother always would lean down and whisper into my ear, Susie, smile at them so they don't feel so badly. My mother was teaching me empathy. My mother was ahead of the researchers in knowing that smiling is good for you and smiling is good for other people. I know from being a nurse that a nurse that walks into a room smiling can change things for a patient and make that patient feel better. We all know the feeling when we're in the grocery store and you see the cranky clerk ahead of you and you're like, oh, I think I'll take my things and go into the next aisle. I actually do all my checking out by self-checkout. And I have the same like supervisor checkout person there, and we're friends. And I can tell when we see each other, we're both smiling because our eyes are crinkling up and we're both saying hello and have a good day, etc. It's a good feeling, even if you can't see their smile behind their mask, to feel their smile coming through. Why is a smile a chain of events that we want to participate in? Because research shows that people who smile are found to be more trustworthy and also more likable. Businesses are told, hire the people that smile, because that is better customer service. And actually, people who smile have been found to be more productive workers, and they lose less time at work. We all know when we see a smile, we want to smile back like these guys. I mean, how could you help not smiling when you see them? What we know about smiling is it releases chemicals, endorphins in our body. Those are good painkillers, I'll take them. It releases serotonin, which helps ameliorate depression. Smiling lowers our blood pressure, our heart rate, reduces stress, makes us more confident, and opens communication. It's like in bad situations, sometimes awkward situations, just a smile will open up more talk and communication about what everybody is feeling in the awkward situation. Here's the ultimate smiler, the Dalai Lama. He says a simple smile, that's the start of opening your heart and being compassionate toward others. Doesn't matter what your language is if you smile. Volunteering, we're just going to cover a little bit about volunteering today because volunteering certainly is priceless. This quote, which you can partially see, says volunteers are not paid, not paid because they're worthless. They're not paid and they are priceless. I love this picture because it shows that no matter how old we get, we can find a way to volunteer. I find as my body is at end stage polio, I do less person-to-person volunteering because I just can't. But I do more sewing like crazy. and give it away to people then who take it to the people who need it. Anybody can be a volunteer. We don't have to have a college degree to help somebody else. We don't have to even be able to speak or write their language. I tutored when I lived in Boulder, a woman who I met cleaning in my apartment building. She had 2 young boys and she was an illegal. I asked her if she would like some help learning how to be a citizen, not knowing what I was getting myself into, because when I looked up the citizenship test, I literally did not know the answers to all the questions. I don't even think I knew 50% of the answers. So I had to send away for the answers to the questions. And then Rosie would come to my apartment once a week and we would start to go over stuff. Gradually, I learned here I was trying to teach her it in English and her language was Spanish. So I got online and they actually make flashcards. And on one side of the flashcard is a citizenship test question. And on the back, it's in Spanish and English. And from then on, we just giggled and laughed and she learned them all and she became a citizen and she didn't have to worry when she came to work anymore. So volunteering does not require donating money. And some people will say, well, I don't volunteer because I don't have the money to do it. There's lots of other things you can do. Today, being Valentine's Day, I got up early and it was 36 degrees in Arizona, which it should never be, but it was. And I said to my husband, I'm going out to deliver these Valentines, no matter what. But one was to a widow down the block, and her husband just died this year. And I spent some time this week writing up some of my remembrances of her husband and what I thought he would want to say to her on her first Valentine's Day without him. And so I put that along with my own Valentine to her on her door, and then just left her a text. You have something on your door, I think from your husband, Tim. And she wrote me back a note and she said, you know, today I'm going to go out and see where we spread his ashes, but I appreciate that someone else is going on this journey with me. Didn't cost me anything other than I did include a chocolate cherry almond cupcake, which I'm sure she liked that too. Actually, she sent a note later. She ate it while she went to look at where she had spread his ashes. The benefits of volunteering. The first thing is we just get a good feeling. I know that from nursing. You get a good feeling when you're helping other people. We get to meet new people that we otherwise wouldn't meet. When I lived in Colorado, our congressman met with us, anybody in the community, once a month. But before he would answer any questions or answers about what was going on in Congress, he gathered you up. Actually, the people that work for him gathered you up, and you were always involved in some service project. So the first hour or two of the meeting could be washing windows in the homeless shelter, cleaning out refrigerators, planting outside, filling athletic socks with all sorts of hygiene items that could be given out to people that needed them. Every month there was a new project. And only after we helped with the project, sort of forceful volunteering, I would say, would he stand up there and tell us what Congress was doing. But he always helped too. It wasn't that he was just asking us to do it. He always helped too. So that is the feel good sense, the meeting new people, enjoying time with others. A 2020 study that they did in the UK showed that volunteering increased participants' happiness over time. Volunteering at least once a month made people feel like their mental health was better. The London School of Economics found out that if you volunteered at least 1 to 2 hours, you gain the most benefit. So you met new people, you took on new challenges too. Like sometimes some of the things that I was doing for the congressman stuff, I never thought I could do, but I surprised myself. Sometimes I had to ask for help from other volunteers, but it made you feel good to think, well, if I have to do this, I actually can accomplish this. People who volunteer generally have sunnier dispositions. And as I said, better mental health. They also live longer. Why do they live longer? Because volunteering helps you be calm in situations. Sometimes it's a big reality check. I think I have it so bad, and I'm going to volunteer for a day, and I'm going to hear a person's story, and I'm going to help them, and I'm going to go home and say, but for the grace. It lowers people's rate of depression. People need people. It's good to be around people. And if you don't have people to be around, you can become lonely and depressed. A Johns Hopkins study in 2009 showed that volunteering actually brings better brain functioning and decreases your chance for dementia. It also decreases your chance for high blood pressure. And people who had high blood pressure who were in this study and did volunteer found that their blood pressure lowered because there's a calmness in doing things for others. We change our focus from our own daily trials to understanding that hardship is spread out across the continuum of help of the world, and we can help with it. Studies have shown that older people who do at least 200 hours of volunteer work a year reduce their risk of high blood pressure by 40%. That seems like a phenomenal amount to me. In fact, the American Psychological Association said that volunteering is the only non-prescription way to avoid a heart attack and stroke because we're reducing high blood pressure at the same time. People who volunteer, they discovered have a lower mortality rate, and people who volunteer who are over the age of 60 have the greatest benefit of this. I guess I'd go with Gandhi. The best way to lose ourselves, to be happy, to not be stressed, to feel good about what we're doing, to teach our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren the values we feel are important to be spread around the world throughout the generations, is to lose ourselves in helping other people. And I'll make those slides go away now, but you are welcome to copies, of course.
Susan, could you make me co-host? Since
Ooh,
you're.
and are you now? Because I
No,
put
I'm
stop
not, 'cause I
sharing.
made you host. If you
So
just
how will I do that?
go to participants,
Yes, I'm there.
and if you go to my name, there's 3 dots. It
I'm
will-
hitting the arrow. I'll just go on the people.
Yes, and if you see my name,
Mona and Marcy.
yeah,
Go to the 3 dots.
yes. And it says.
Did that do it?
Make co-host,
Make host.
co-host.
Co-host.
Marcy, I don't think you have co-hosts. I think you either have host or host. You think?
Oh, and now it says, do you want to change the host to Tootie? Does Tootie want to be host? No.
No.
Okay, I'm back to Mona and Marcy. Make co-host. Do you want
There
to
you
make?
go. There
Yes.
you go.
Maureen, it just means her husband, Marcy, not me.
I know that.
Okay.
There he is, probably.
Well, I hope you guys saw yourself in what you do.
Absolutely.
There it is.
That was a very good presentation.
Yes,
Very
very good.
enjoyable.
I
You
love
might be
doing that
interested-
research. It was so much fun. And I was telling the coordinator of the Canada March of Dimes this week, because she sent me some comments from people. And I said, I wish that every polio survivor could have something they want to share with the generations that followed, painted on the walls of a museum. And we have a polio survivor museum somewhere, because once we're gone, who's going to know what was in our hearts and minds?
Or what you suffered.
Mhm. There's a lot of different angles to what one person would like to tell about, because our experiences were different. Some of us might like to share what it was like to be in the hospital. Others might not want to review that. Some might like to share how it was to be a school-age child versus an adult, how they got into their occupation, how it was affected by polio. But I was telling her I could just see these streams of words on the walls that were actually our voices that would stay beyond us. So I planted it anyway, that seed. We'll see.
I just want to mention that there's a very good documentary on PBS on Benjamin Franklin. It's a very comprehensive one. It's just being redone, and I've seen it lots of times. He's quite an amazing individual.
Thank you for telling me that, because we have
on-
PBS Passport.
Yeah, WPBS, yeah, and they're rerunning it right now, yeah. It's it's Ken Burns, who's a fantastic, he does fantastic documentaries on everybody.
Unbelievable. I just would watch anything Ken Burns does.
No,
Yeah,
absolutely, anything that he does, you gotta watch it. It's very high quality.
it's
In
fascinating.
fact, he did a really good one on the Roosevelts. Fantastic one on the Roosevelts, yeah. I watched that several times.
Yeah.
Not just Franklin, but Teddy Roosevelt and
Mhm. And Eleanor?
and Eleanor, yeah, absolutely. Actually, the one on Eleanor is the best of it all. I think, and he's very good.
That's
I
good to
recommend
know.
I just want to recommend that because, and WPBS has so much good programming on it. I'm a big fan of theirs.
We're watching the latest Creatures Great and Small right
Oh,
now.
yeah,
Yeah.
They just got married
yeah,
last night at our house.
yeah. Well, you know, that's where my family's from, is Yorkshire.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, that's right. We have a lot of family history on that kind of stuff. So it brings back, for me, a lot. I make it. It brings back a lot of history.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just such very touching. So anyway,
Mhm.
sorry.
No, they're just very good people. We love watching it because we know
Yeah.
that it's just warms our hearts every episode we've watched.
Yeah.
Susan, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Have you ever heard of the 5 wishes?
Yes, I believe I read a book about that once.
Well, it's a document that we had switched to, my husband and I switched to gerontologists because we thought, well, pardon my French, but I said, hey, I'm an official OFART. I can go to an OFART doctor now. So we switched doctors, and she said, I want you to take this document, the 5 wishes, and I want you to fill it out.
Mhm.
And in it, there's a lot of places where, if you want a DNR and your advanced directives,
Mhm.
that type of thing. But there's a section on there that asks questions, and one of the questions is, what do you want people to remember the most about you?
Oh,
And I
that's
thought that was
wonderful.
it was so perfect, because I thought, that's going to be the most important. And then it said, if you wanted to put, the things that you really want your family and your friends to remember you by, what are they? And I had never really thought about that before, So your presentation just brought a lot of those thoughts back. Thank you.
It's fun to think about, I have 3 children, and they're a lot alike, but yet they're a little different, and their memories are different. And so the things they remember doing with me depend on whether they were the first, second, or third child, and just their general being. I find it fascinating sometimes when we're talking about a story of when they were all young, and one will remember it totally, and the others won't.
Yeah.
Dick has something to say.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that Mona and Susan, please share this presentation with the post-polio syndrome advocacy group, because it really strikes home to everything we're trying to do.
Mhm.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
I think that will make an excellent talk.
Well, I'm always happy to help.
Thank you.
I'm sure everybody has heard, and I can't think of the first 2, but people won't remember da 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 da. They won't remember again da 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 da, but they'll remember how you made them feel.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everybody's heard that many
Mhm.
times, and I think that's so
Mhm.
important. And I had a phone call
Yes.
from a friend that actually started me in my swimming career, and during the conversation, she brought up many things. You made me feel like this, and da 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 da. So it really is true.
That's wonderful.
I hadn't talked to her for a long time.
And Susan, I also, I have one other of your articles that you sent, and it was on intimacy. And I think that was very interesting. I'd like to read a little bit of that.
Sure.
Intimacy, I'm on board with you. I'm not over sex or intimate, and wholeheartedly agree that intimacy is not only sex, far from it. When Susan worked on a coronary care, critical care unit, it fell to her to counsel people after heart attacks, received nursing counseling award for the below noted article. Strategies for sexual counseling of patients following a myocardial infarction. Boykoff was my first married name, and I went back to my maiden name after that adventure. Her first son has kept all her publications somewhere in a file in Portland, Oregon. She highlighted from the abstract, which was all she could get online, and I think you are talking about that. So there's an article by S.L. Boykoff, and the abstract goes, patients commonly experience sexual dysfunction after a cardiac infarction, yet diminished quality and quantity of activity have not been correlated with age or severity of damage. The literature reports that this dysfunction is attributable largely to psychological factors compounded by inadequate information. Key to our discussion may be that inadequate information compounded by our unwillingness as polio survivors to be vulnerable may feed into less sexual pleasure. Terms of endearment vary between couples. I think some of the ways Susan's husband and myself share ourselves are both alike and different than the ways others show endearment. Every couple finds their own unique ways. I write my husband love letters on special occasions or any old day. These he loves. David and Susan became acquainted accidentally when she was in Arizona on a winter recovering from an autoimmune reaction to an attack in Portland, Oregon. It was only in Arizona, a winter time, as I worked my way back to being able to walk. He met me when I was using 2 hiking poles, and I would get up every morning. She would get up every morning and do her physical exercise, floor exercises, head to the gym and swim, rest, go back to the gym and walk on the treadmill. David started to write me letters after I had moved to Boulder, Colorado, and received the first one in March, so he always gets a letter that day. The mirrors and walls of our home were papered with letters until our November visitor
Nice.
came and decided not to embarrass her by keeping them. I like that because, and now I'm going to say that I also started something like that, and it's not because of Susan, but because intimacy is important. And as we get older, we seem to forget doing that. So I thought that this would be an excellent way to talk about it. And just at the end of this, the definition. There are usual definitions of intimacy. The state of consensual sharing of deeply personal information. Cambridge says a situation in which you have a close friendship or sexual relationship with someone. And there are many categories of intimacy. There are 5 types of intimacy: physical, emotional, intellectual, spiritual, and social. So with those ideas, I'm just going to close that down, are some of the things I'm going to put myself spotlight. And what we did well, at Christmas time. At Christmas time, we watched a movie. It was called Shared Apartment. That's not the actual name. And in that apartment, these 2 people, they shared the apartment, and one was there overnight and one was there during the day. So the only way that they could get to talk to each other, they never met each other, was through sticky notes. And I thought that was really interesting. So one of the things that we have done, and now I have this pile of sticky notes, and I will read to you, of course, today. Hey, 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 happy Valentine's Day. Love, Marcy, with the watch. I enjoy my life. I like what I do, from my husband.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I love your brightness. We do strive for improvement. Oh, and I like this one the best. I like you. This took a long time for me to tell my husband that I liked him. I love him. I care about him. But he said, you know, after about 30 years of marriage, it was so nice to hear, I like you.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yes, you are serious. He makes jokes and I don't know what they are. So these came since Christmas. It's challenging to work with him. That's a big one. Because the way I work and the way he works and how he's had to learn how to cook over these years. And here was one, gallantry lives on, love you. And here in the middle of the day, having a great day.
Oh,
So
nice.
this to us is intimacy. After 50 odd years, and I guess I have to say they are odd. I didn't want to plaster them on the wall, but I have kept them. And it was because of a movie of two people who couldn't see each other because they were it was called flat sharing. That's what it was. And it was an English movie. It came out in 2022. It was just so cute. And in the end, they both fell in love. And instead of sharing the flat, they lived together. So I wanted to share that. And I wanted to share Susan's idea of intimacy because it is important. And Susan, do you have any other items that you'd like to mention?
Nothing that I've thought about ahead. But thank you. Thank you.
And thank you all for listening to all of these things.
Yeah. Thank you, Mona, for getting us all
Yes.
together. I
Mona,
was really
yes.
looking forward to it because this is only my second time here. It's like
Ah.
I look forward to Marine's group. It's such a wonderful feeling to have all these new friends. It's great.
Yes.
So thank you.
This is good vibes.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And it makes for good friends. And we really have made friends. We see each other. You know, I can't say more. And I've heard from each and every polio Zoom at how wonderful it is to have Zooms because we have made
Yes.
these friends. Over my holiday, which I didn't really take, I went to over 34 different Zooms between December and all of the month of
Wow.
January. And it didn't feel like I went to so many, but it was really wonderful. And I have to say thank you for you guys coming here to me and having such an open Zoom. I like the idea that we have usually a subject, and today's was a real Valentine's. I looked at the calendar and I said, wow, the second week I'm back from holiday and it's Valentine's. And isn't that a nice time to share with friends? Because Valentine's is about friends.
And when you meet the people that you see in the little squares, when you finally meet them in person, that is such a blessing. Like we met Ruth and we met, well, hopefully we'll meet some more. We've met Stan. He's an old timer though. And I know Mike 20 years, 25 years. And hopefully, next year we can meet some more on the cruise and looking forward to that. We already have 15 people signed up for next time.
Wow. So I think that we should each share an intimate moment that we have had together and or part of your family at this point. So who would like to start?
Oh, I've got one.
Okay.
My husband used to have to get up real early in the morning, and I'm not an early morning girl. But even when I taught school, I would sleep in like to the last second that I had to get out of bed, right? So he would leave me little notes, have a nice day, and like little sticky notes, little notes. One day he left me a note. I looked at it, had to go running. And later on that evening, he said, "Didn't you get my note?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, I did. What did it say?" He said, "What do you mean? What did it say?" And I said, "I couldn't read it. Your handwriting is atrocious." And I couldn't read it. He said, "It said, I love you." Yeah, I didn't read that. And we still laugh about that. I said, "Yeah, you can just leave me a love note that I can't read."
Wow, we can say those things because we know the people. Yes, Martin.
Well, what I do, and there's probably 2 to 3 times a day, I text my wife. I'm texting lots of other people, but particularly my wife. It has all kinds of
Ah,
memories, and I try to have pictures of, of various things we've done over the years. And I just sent her another one on the Valentine's Day, but I do that regularly. And as I told you before, I send her a text every night because we now have to sleep in separate bedrooms. So it's just a sad situation. But anyway, I send her a text every night, and I just sent her another one just as we're talking right now. And probably 2 or 3 times a day, she gets a text from me, and usually some pictures attached to it.
I'm
and all
glad,
those,
I'm glad to hear that, because
I'm sorry.
you always used to say in ending his meetings, I think about all of you before I go to sleep every night. I'm
Well,
thinking,
that's true.
and I said, well, what about your wife?
She's number one, obviously, but no. But I've had a lot of people that I'm very fond of, and I've been blessed that way. So
nice.
lots of good thoughts.
Mike, you have something to say. Your lips are moving, but we don't hear you. I think you have the same problem Stanley does. Now try.
No,
Did you connect to Wi-Fi in your audio? You may have to sign back out again and come back in and pick Wi-Fi. Or, let me think, turn your speaker on. Do you have to turn something on?
Who are you asking?
Mike,
Mike,
Mike. See,
Yeah.
I don't see Mike.
he's at the bottom.
he's right underneath you.
he's got the headset on. White hair, glasses, headset, and his name says Mike. He's waiting.
Eh,
Well, he can hear us, but we can't hear him. Mike, sign out and come back in.
Yeah.
There you go.
And
Like-
I'd like to say something towards what Martin said, that I never thought that I would have to sleep in a different room than my husband. But you know what? We decide to choose to be intimate now, as opposed to just turn around and say hello to each other. So now we have to choose it because we're in
that's
different rooms.
sweet.
And I think that also makes it even more interesting.
It sounds like a hot day.
Yes, yes, and sometimes, actually, I feel that mornings are better than evenings, because now I have more energy in the morning than I did at night when I was in my younger days. So
Sure.
now it becomes a morning date, and it really is quite nice.
Mhm.
And then we get up and we're in a good mood instead of getting up and being in a bad mood. It's the whole way we see each other. So
Nice.
these are the important things, and to look at intimacy in different ways. It doesn't have to be like we were when we were 20, because we're not 20 anymore,
Right.
but we don't have to lose it all.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Julia, you have a partner.
Gary.
Give us a little tell all.
Hmm. And I can tell my husband is just coming home from the gym. So I think I will sign out.
Okay,
Gary
um,
is ETA.
Because for us, it's supper
Oh.
time.
Yeah.
and it's Valentine's, and we need to enjoy the rest of this day. So I want to say thank you.
Thank you, Mona, for coordinating everything.
Thank you very much for being here. I'm going to give this recording to the advocacy group and see what they say, and perhaps they will ask you, Susan, to give a little talk.
Sure. Be happy to. Take
Thank
care.
you so much, Susan. It
You're
has
welcome.
been
Bye,
wonderful
Susan.
hearing you.
Thank you.
You know, I
Bye-bye.
think you can submit her name to Ina,
Yeah,
because I think they're always looking for speakers.
I've
Especially,
seen Ina on a video. I saw
Yeah.
Ina on a video, but I've never met Ina. Yeah.
she's on she chairs the polio advocacy group on the 2nd and 4th Thursday of the month at 10 o'clock in the morning Eastern.
Oh, okay.
okay, so 10 o'clock is very early for you.
Oh, I'm an early riser. I'm
Okay,
up by 5 o'clock, so no problem for me.
Well, Mona,
Take care, all of you.
give her the link or at least Ken's email address so she can get on the list.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Mike, can you, let's see if we can hear you.
Can I?
Mike?
Well, he's just
Oh.
connecting
Connecting.
now.